Welcome back to Brengle's Kitchen. I'm Ariel Brengle. And today we're making a spaghetti squash dinner. So the first thing that we're gonna do is prepare this spaghetti squash to be cooked. We're gonna cut it, season it, and then put it into the oven. So we're gonna set our oven to 350 right now so it can heat up. Okay, so cutting the spaghetti squash is actually kind of difficult. I looked online and they say that cutting the top off of it first is helpful, so that's what we're gonna try. So I have a longer knife. So I cut the top off, and it actually wasn't that easy, so I don't recommend you guys doing that. What you'll want to do is just cut it long ways. The best way, obviously, is to put the blade down and press on it. I also do something a little different, so I'll go ahead and just show you what I do. All right, so now we have cut the spaghetti squash in half, and we're going to take a spoon or an ice cream scoop and just scoop out all the guts, kind of like you would a pumpkin. All right, so we've cleaned out the spaghetti squash, so they're nice and clean now. And so the next thing I'm gonna do is put just a little bit of oil into a bowl so I can lather it all over. You wanna get it nice and coated so that the seasoning that you put on will stick to it. So now that we've lathered these up with the oil, we're gonna put them over onto the cooking pan, and then we're gonna pick up some spices and just season this with whatever spices you like. I use pepper, garlic salt, oregano, and this one seasoning that has, rosemary, basil, lavender. All right, so now you can see that they're all nice and seasoned. So what you're gonna do is flip them over like this. And that's how they'll cook in the oven. So we put the oven to 350, and these are gonna bake for about 45 minutes. So now that the spaghetti squash is in the oven, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the meat portion of the meal. So today we chose a ground turkey breast, and what we'll do is cook it, brown it, and season it before we put on the tomato sauce. All right, so while we're browning the meat, I'm gonna just go ahead and add the seasonings in while it's still raw. So I'm just putting the same seasonings that I put on the spaghetti squash onto the meat, and that's fine. You guys can do that too with whatever seasonings you like. Sometimes just a regular plain Italian seasoning is good. Okay, so now the turkey is thoroughly cooked, and there's not really a lot of fat, otherwise I'd drain it. So I'm just gonna put the tomato sauce into this now. So since I'm not really particularly fond of the taste of turkey, I like to let this kind of marinate while the spaghetti squash is cooking. And I also don't really eat the spaghetti squash the same day that it's made. I usually let it sit in the fridge for a day. That way it soaks up the tomato sauce taste and it doesn't really taste as much like turkey. All right, so the timer just went off on the oven, so we're gonna pull out the spaghetti squash first. So they're very hot, so just make sure that you're careful in turning them over. So this is what they should look like, nice and soft. So what you do next is kind of optional. What I like to do is put the meat in the sauce in these kind of like bowls, or you can wait till this cools down a little bit and scrape out the spaghetti squash and then put the meat on top, whatever you like to do. So I like to do it this way because then the sauce gets to also soak into the spaghetti squash while I keep it overnight in the refrigerator. So then we have a nice taste in the spaghetti squash as well as the turkey. Okay, so the next step is to put a little bit of mozzarella cheese on the top of the meat. So sprinkle that on. You can put as much as you like or as little as you like. So now that the cheese is on there, we're gonna put it back in the oven until the cheese is melted. All right, so the cheese is melted, and I'm gonna take it out of the oven now. Okay, so there you have it. We have our spaghetti squash dinner. Now, like I said, I typically don't eat it the same day, but I will dig into it so you can see the spaghetti part. Well, that's all for Bringle's Kitchen. Thank you so much for joining us, and please gently press that like button. Have a good one. Feels like home. It's just my homepage. You look like my girl. Just my home girl. Feels like home. Welcome to Bringle's Kitchen. I'm Ariel Brengle.